Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Customizing Title Blocks webinar. My name is Nick, and I'll be doing the presentation with you today. Just like all of our previous webinars, everybody will be on mute. So if you do happen to have any questions at any point during our class, please feel free to go ahead and type that into the questions area. And at the end of the class, I'll go through and answer any questions that may have come up. Also, at the end of the class, I will be sending out an email that will contain a document that covers everything that we're going to be talking about in today's class. So if you should be having to do this on your own and you do happen to have any questions, you can contact our support department and they'll be happy to help you out with any questions that you might have as well. So again, today's class is on customizing a title block. And we're going to be looking at not only inserting a title block, but we're also going to be looking at editing a title block. Now, just a quick little overview. The title blocks that are automatically associated to your workspace in Envisioneer are going to be a 24 by 36 size sheet of paper. And you can add any size that you want to specify by using any of the default template title blocks that we have in the program as well. And we're going to look at a couple of those options in today's class. Now, Envisioneer does ship with many title block options in DWG format. You can also bring in any custom title blocks in DWG format that you may have already created on your own. So let's go ahead and take a look at inserting a title block. So there are many alternate title blocks that ship with Envisioneer that you can insert into your worksheet view to use instead of the default 24 by 36 size option that we ship with. We're going to first go to our worksheets and we're going to go in and we're going to adjust the tab to be floor plan 1. And under the floor plan 1 option, we're going to go in and we're going to start to look at inserting title blocks. So we're going to go up and we're going to select the insert and we're going to select the import CAD file. Now, if you are familiar with the working drawing sheet environment, you'll notice that we have the tab format system. And under the insert tab, you will see the option of inserting either a PDF, a DWG, or a CAD file. We're going to insert the import PDF option. You can also go to the insert menu, and under the insert menu, you will have the import CAD file. So both ways will bring you to the same command. We're just going to select the import CAD file under the insert tab, and this will bring up the open dialog box. And in this open dialog box, you can see that we have some folders that are already shipped with the program. And one of those folders is the title blocks folder. And I'm just going to get you to double click on that. And this will open up all of the different title blocks that we have available. Now in here, these are going to be different sizes of different types of title blocks in either a portrait or landscape format. The landscape format will actually have the landscape name beside it. Anything that doesn't will be a portrait style. And I'm just going to select the D1 size DWG, and then I'm going to click Open. This will bring up the import dialog box. And in the import dialog box, we can now look at not only the name of this title block, but we can also look at the size of the title block. We can change the angle, we can change the scale. We can do a couple of different things with this before we insert it. But since we are working with a title block that should be to scale, we're not going to make any kind of adjustments to the scale of this. We're just going to simply select Insert. And when you select Insert, it will bring up the Edit Block Attributes dialog box. Now, in here, when this title block was created, attributes were set up to define the title block itself. So in here, we are able to see not only the project address, but we're also able to see the state We're also able to see when what sheet number we want to name this. We're also able to adjust the scale option if we want to. So you can do a couple of different things in here to just change the naming conventions within the title block itself. So again, we can change the date. We'll change that to be today's date, so you can see that change. I'm just going to say today is July. I'm just going to go 2023. And again, you can go through and adjust any one of these attributes. And we'll talk about adding attributes to a title block in just a moment. But since these were already predefined, all we have to do is make the adjustments, and we can simply go through and say, okay. Now when I click on OK, that new title block is now going to be attached to my cursor. And I can left click and place this anywhere that I want in my drawing file. So I'm now looking at a 24 by 36 size sheet, but in the portrait mode instead of the landscape mode. I can delete the old title block out by just simply selecting it and pressing delete on my keyboard to get rid of it. Now, by default, it's still going to be looking at and referencing the page size for the 24 by 36 landscape. So if I want to make adjustments so that the page fits, I would just need to simply go into the floor plan sheet. I can right click and just go View Manager. And under the View Manager for the floor plan, I can change the print properties to be the correct size and orientation for the sheet that we're going to be printing on. So in this case, we're going to want to make sure that we're using a PDF writer because I don't have a plotter on my system. A PDF writer will allow you to select the appropriate page size that you may not be able to print to automatically. So here you can select the PDF writer, select the page size, and we want to do an Arch D. But we want to be in the portrait mode. And I want to set my print area. So by default, it will be set to all extents. I want mine to be set to window. It then gives me the option to select the window. So I'm going to click on this window button. And I'm going to say that I want to make sure that I'm printing from the end of this red line to the end of this red line. And this just gives us the extents as to which we want that PDF to be created. So it's now going to center that within that area. I'm going to make sure that it is also set to print to scale, and I'm going to make sure it's set to the correct scale. Since we're working in a working drawing sheet, we do give you the ability to print your line weights. Now, line weights are going to be associated with the layer that you have defined for the elements that you're inserting. So a wall will be on a wall layer, a window will be on a window layer, and those layers will have a color, a line type, and a line weight. These line weights, when this is selected, will be printed to show the correct line weight. So if you have a hatch, which is a very light line weight, compared to a wall, which will have a medium to heavy line weight, you'll see the differences within those line weights when you print it out. Once you're happy with how everything is placed, you can simply say OK. And you'll also notice that you can adjust multiple views here. So I can go to the next one and change it, and so on. I'm just going to say OK. And now I'm going to be able to see that new sheet is using that new title block in the portrait mode. So next we're going to be looking at editing a title block. So title blocks consist of lines, text, images, and attributes. You can edit its individual components, or you can add objects to a title block. Any changes or additions you make are automatically saved to the block's definition, and any instances of the block in your entire project are automatically going to be updated. So to show this in practice, I'm going to select the Elevations tab, And this is going to bring up our original title block. So this is still using the original default title block that I opened the program with. I'm going to go over and I'm going to select the title block. And when I click on the title block, it's going to highlight in green for me. And this is just showing me that the title block itself is selected. And it is a block, so it's going to be all one color when it's selected. On the right-hand side of the screen, you're going to notice that there is an object properties area, which is consistent with where the catalog normally is, but in your worksheet environment, it'll be called object properties. When you have an object selected, it will show different options in here. If I deselect, it's not going to have anything selected. It'll say no selection. When I click on the title block, it now shows me the layer that it's on. It shows me the block name, the definition, and the attributes. If you want to adjust the shape of the title block, if you want to add lines to the title block, if you want to add text that will be the same throughout the title block, no matter what sheet it is on, you're going to select Edit Definition. This will bring you inside of the block itself. So I am now inside the block and I'm making adjustments to the look of the title block. So in here, if I click on a line, it's going to show me the lines that are selected. I can adjust these, I can delete them, I can add lines, I can remove lines, I can duplicate lines in here. I'm just going to take this line here and I'm just going to duplicate it. So I'm going to go right click, duplicate, and I'm just going to separate this down a little bit, and I'm just going to create a new section right there, and I'm just going to hit escape to end that editing or duplicating command. I can also delete lines out. So if I want to get rid of anything, I can select a line and I can delete it out. And I can just simply select the line itself and I can hit delete on my keyboard to delete the line itself. And if I just press delete, that line will be removed. I can also add in text. So again, this is going to be text that is going to be the same on every single sheet. So as an example, this text here would be consistent with every title block that I add in, no matter what the title block is for. If it's for a floor plan, an elevation, a section, it is always going to say the same thing. Same with the revision issues or the revision or the issue. This is going to be the same on every sheet. And when I select it, I can see that it is just showing up as the text itself. So under contents, it's just giving me the words that I've typed in. Differences in the text that you're going to see inside the definition are going to start to appear when you look down here. So this is a project name, and you're going to notice that it has a $sign in front of it. This is an attribute. This is going to link to another part of the program that is going to allow me to make adjustments to it, and it will then make changes to the text for me based on the information that I input. We're going to touch on attributes in just a moment, but I wanted to show you the differences between the text that is going to carry on for every sheet and the text that's going to change based on the sheet we're working on, and that's where attributes come in. You can also add in image files to your title blocks. So here we have just the default CADSoft logo, and this is what we ship the program with. It is just a image file that is copied in and placed within the title block to create the title block logo. You can add in your own logos here. So you can take this default title block that we ship with and you can customize it, adding in your own company information, adding in your own logo. You can remove lines, add in different parts to this title block that you feel is going to be beneficial to your company. So I'm just going to delete out this logo and I'm going to go in and I'm going to say import image. And when I select the import image, I'm just going to grab an image file. So I'm just going to go to my Let's go to the D drive. I'm just going to grab a rendered image. So we're just going to go to D, and we're going to go to data. We're going to go to documents, and we're going to go to Vision Year 16, and we're going to go to projects. And under projects, I'm just going to grab an image file. I'm just going to grab indoor pool, and I'm going to say open. Now it's going to ask me to define the size and the shape of the size of the title block image. I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to first off make sure it's not dimmed. I'm going to give it a width and a height, and I'm just going to say I want this to be, let's just go 10 feet for now, and we'll say insert. And attached to my cursor will be that image file. And I can drop that in, and that can be my new logo. So I can adjust the size of it if I need to. So I can delete that out, and I can tell that that needs to be a little bit smaller. So I'm again just going to go in and say import image, indoor pool. And we're going to go in and say, we're going to go 5 feet. And we'll say insert. And we'll drop that in like so, and then we can start to fine tune the text. So maybe I don't want all of this text in here. I can remove portions of the text out, say okay, move it around. And we can change the name of the company. And we're just going to call this Bob Builder, and we'll say okay. So we're now basically just changing the look of this title block by changing the name of the company, changing the image. I'm again going to copy a line here. So I'm just going to duplicate this up, and we're going to say finish. Now I want to talk about attributes. So when you're done editing a title block, and you're inside the definition, you want to press escape on your keyboard to exit out of that definition. This is a very important step. So by pressing the escape, you are now exiting out of the work of the block, and you're now going back into just your worksheet. I'm now going to click on the title block again, and we're now going to look at attributes. So attributes are text that's attached to a block that changes with each insertion of a particular block. For example, you can add attributes to a title block that prompt for the designer's name, the current date, or the drawing sheet number each time someone inserts that title block into a drawing. Each separate insertion of the block can have unique attribute text values. So each title block can have its own sheet number as an example. That is what makes them different than just adding in text like we showed in the previous step. Each insertion of a block that has text will have the exact same text, but each insertion of a block that has an attribute text can all be different. Once you have defined the attribute, you insert it into the drawing. For an example, on your title blocks, then you can capture the object and attribute in the block itself. To edit an attribute in an existing block, you can select the block, and on the right-hand side of the screen, you're going to see the object properties, and you will see the Edit Attributes option. And if I click on Edit Attributes, it will bring up the attributes defined for that specific block. So the attributes for this block allow me to change the sheet number, the sheet scale, the sheet name, and if I want to have any kind of a sheet subname, I can add that in here as well. When I say OK, it's just going to show me those values. So if I do make a change as an example, let's go back in the edit. Let's change this just to say nothing. So I'm just going to get rid of the drawing subname. And when I say OK, it removes the text underneath elevations, and I'm not seeing that drawing subname anymore. This only affects this title block. So that change to that attribute only affected this block itself. If I wanted to add in an attribute or to create an attribute, I can go up and I'm going to go back into the definition. I'm going to come up here and I added this area here by adding in a line. So I'm going to create a new attribute. So inside the definition of that title block, so again, I'm seeing the individual lines. That lets me know I'm inside the definition. I'm going to add in some text to create an attribute. So we're going to go up and we're going to select Insert. And you can go to Blocks, and then you can select the Insert Attribute option. If you like to use the tabs, underneath the Insert, you're going to have Blocks, use the drop-down, select Insert Attribute. This will bring up the Insert Attribute dialog box. And in here, we can go through and you can start to add in different values for the text that's going to define that attribute. So the first thing we need to define is the tag. So in the tag edit box, you can type the name of the attribute as you would like it to appear when the attribute is inserted. For example, if the attribute is for a person's name, you can type name. Or to use a project setting as the tag name, you can click the arrow in the tag edit box and select a project setting from the drop-down box. So this is where the number signs come in, and these link to project attributes. We're not going to use this for right now. I'm just going to leave that as it is, and I'm just going to type in that I want this to say name. And I'm going to type in name. And then the prompt, in the prompt edit box, you're going to type a prompt that asks what the value you want the attribute to have when it is inserted. So for example, you're going to, where you have name, you're going to put in enter your name. So I'm just going to go enter your name. If you selected a project setting as the tag name, this field will be disabled, so you won't be able to type anything in. You can select the dimension, or sorry, the text style that you want to use, and right now we're using a dimension text style. We're also using, since it's using an actual style, it's going to adopt the font and the size of the font to match that. You can change the color, you can add in a background color, you can add any kind of a text adjustment to it, so be that bold, italic, underline. You can also adjust the justification, so it can be left justified, center justified, or right justified. And you can also adjust the actual scale, but we're not going to make any adjustments to the scale here. We're just going to add in the text that we want to have. So if you want the attribute to have a predefined default value when you insert the block that contains it, you can enter that desired text in the editing window. So in here, if I know that this is going to be projects that I work on, I can just put in my name. So I'm just going to put in Nick. Now, if this is going to be a company-wide title block and I don't want a default value to be added in, then I would leave that blank, and then the enter your name would show up, and you could add in your name that way. It would just show up blank. We're going to say OK, and I'm going to drop that in right here where it says name. I'm now going to hit escape on my keyboard to exit out of that definition. And by exiting out of the definition, it's now going to automatically show me that attribute as Nick. If I click on this title block and I click on the edit attributes, I'm now going to see that new attribute at the bottom. And I'm going to see the prompt that says enter your name, and by default, it says Nick. That's how you can add in an attribute and edit the attributes for those particular elements. Now, we also have attributes that refer back to the project. So when we look at this title block here, I can see that we have hashtag project name, hashtag address, hashtag city, hashtag client. These are entries that are going to be project based. So they're not going to change based on the sheet, they're going to change based on the project. So I don't need to make adjustments to this every time I insert a title block onto a new sheet. I just need to make changes to this every time I start a new project. So if I go back up to File and I look at Project Manager, this is where that information comes from. So by default, the project name is hashtag project name. I would change the name here to be whatever project this is going to be. So I would call this Billy's House. Underneath the client name, I would type in Billy. The address is going to be 123 Fake Street. And then the city is just going to be, I'm just going to leave that as Guelph. I can go through, and if I wanted to populate the title block with more options, I could incorporate any of these. I would just need to edit the title block to have the appropriate attribute to match that. So as an example, let's say I want to include country. So I'm going to type in, we'll say Canada for right now, because that's where I have Guelph from. So I'm just going to type in Canada, and I'm going to say OK. So right now I can see that it updated that title block. It now says Billy's House, which is at 123 Fake Street in Guelph. The client is Billy. This also changed on every single sheet. Every change that I've made so far to the title block, changing the logo, changing the company name, has changed on every sheet. Information like the name, the drawing sheet, the scale has not changed. That's going to be dependent on the view. So when I click on details, I'm going to see the new Bob Builder logo. I'm going to see the new company address. I'm going to see the project information. So Billy's House at 123 Fake Street. Client is Billy, but the details in the drawing subname are still associated with the attributes when it was inserted. When I click cancel on that, if I want to add in that other option like I mentioned, I can go in and say edit definition, and I can go up here and we're going to move these around just a little bit to see if I can get everything fit in here. So I'm going to go up and move that up. I'm going to move address up, move city up, and we're going to add in a new attribute. So we're going to add in insert attribute. We're going to use the tag dropdown, and we're going to say country. Everything else gets grayed out because we're not making adjustments to it. It's going to automatically grab what is ever in my project manager. And I say OK. And I'm just going to drop in country. I'm going to place that in right there. I'm going to hit escape on my keyboard, and it now shows me Canada at the bottom. And that will take effect on every sheet. Now I may need to edit definition and escape to refresh it because it is a new addition, so I may need to just update it. So when you see something missing, just update it quickly by just going into the definition. So here I can see I'm missing Nick and I'm missing the country. So I just select it, edit, escape, and it readjusts and says, oh, there are new entries added in, so it does make those adjustments for you. So that covers everything that I wanted to go over with editing a title block for the creation of any company title blocks that you're looking to create. So I'm going to open up the questions section. And again, if you do have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and type those in. While I am waiting for questions to come in, I'm just going to go over a quick review of what we looked at in today's class. So today we went through and we looked at not only how to insert a title block, but we also looked at how to edit the attributes of a title block, how to edit the shape of a title block by creating new lines, And we also looked at how attributes work, be that attributes that are going to be adjusted for each individual sheet, or attributes that are going to be defined based on the project itself. So I'm just taking a look. I'm not seeing any questions just yet, so I'm going to wait just to see if there are any other further questions. Oh, we do have a question that just came up. How do you add a new title block? So if you have a new title block, something that you've created, you can go up and you can select, depending on the type of title block it is. If it is a CAD file, you would go up and you would just select the insert CAD file option, and then you would go to the location of wherever you have that title block stored. So by default, we have these as our defaults that you can use. But if you've created one already, you can just map to that location and insert it. And again, that would be done as a DWG file, and you can bring it in that way. If you are looking to just create a brand new title block from scratch, then you can draw the lines in yourself, and then you would create a block of it. That's a little bit more work because you are starting from square one, but it'll be more customized based on the exact way you want your title blocks to look. And that kind of brings up a point that I did want to bring up. When you go to your blocks and you say insert block, when you select the insert block option, we keep a list of all the blocks that you've inserted. And in here you can see we have default title blocks of different sizes. So all these title blocks that you see here are also in 8.5 by 11, 11 by 17, 18 by 24, 24 by 36, and 36 by 48. So if I insert each one of these as an example, you'll see the differences. So here we can see the CADSoft, just a smaller size. When I insert the next block, so in your templates, what you can do is you can update each of these to show your company information, and should a file need to use a different size sheet, you can use the appropriate size title block. So again, if I just go in here, I'm just going to insert all of them so you can see. So that was the 11 by 17, 18 by 24. And then we have the 24 by 36, which I just adjusted. So we're going to do 36 by 48, and we'll say okay. So again, these are going to be the default sizes that we ship with. So you can insert these, adjust them so that the information is showing exactly what you want for all of them. And then you can delete them out, because once you make a save to this, so if I insert the 24 by 36, oops, wrong one, 24 by 36, and I say okay, it's going to remember the changes, and I'm going to see that Bob the Builder. So once I save this as a template drawing, it's going to remember all of those changes, and every time I go to insert that title block, it's going to see the appropriate information based on the company that I've added in. So would adding a new worksheet take on the updated definitions? For example, adding more elevation pages for front, rear, left, and right. Good question. When you add in a new sheet, you have the option to, so if I wanted to create a new elevation sheet, I can select elevations, and I can right click, and I can say add worksheet, or I can say copy view. If I add a worksheet in, it will create a brand new blank worksheet with no title block. I would then add in my own title block, and I would place it where I want. It also gives me the ability to adjust the actual naming of it. I'm going to delete that one out. If I select the copy option, so copy view, it will create a copy of elevations, and I will see the naming conventions to elevations underscore copy, but it copies the smart view, or sorry, it copies the title block with it. So I can adjust this title block to match this sheet. So either way will work. It all depends on what's going to be best for you. I typically copy a view As long as I don't have a smart view inserted in here, I copy the views over and then I adjust the title block information accordingly. I then go through and I go into the view manager, and in the view manager, I would go in and say, well, I don't want this to say elevations copy. I'm going to change this to be, I'm going to go over here and say name is going to be 3. It's going to be elevations, I'm going to say 2. And then I'm going to change details to be 4. I just want the naming or the numbering conventions to match. And then site plan would be 5. Now I want to take elevations 2, and I'm just going to move it up in the list so it sits exactly where I want, so it shows up next to the correct tab in my logical order of how I want my sheets to be displayed. And then I simply say OK, and now I have an elevations and an elevations 2. And under elevations 2, I can change this edit attribute to be A3, and I'm just going to call this elevations 2. I'm going to say OK, and then details should be A4, so we're going to change the attribute to be A4. I'm going to say OK, and so on. So you can copy the views. I find that is the better way of doing it. It just makes it a lot easier to just select it and adjust it, but you can also create your own blank one and add in your title block separately and make adjustments to it. Templates is going to be next week's class, so I'm not going to get too in-depth into templates, but this is the stepping stone for templates, is creating your title blocks. And then next week's class will be going about or talking about how to create templates and save drawing files as templates. So we will cover that in next week's class. So I'm just going to pause here for just another moment to see if there's any other questions or any follow-up questions. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the class, I will be sending out an email that contains a document that covers everything that we've talked about today. So that way you can try this out on your own. And again, if you have any questions while doing this on your own, you can contact our support department and they'll be able to help you out with any questions you may have. Perfect. All right, so there doesn't appear to be any other questions. So again, I'm just going to pause it for just another moment just to see if there's any other questions coming in. All right, perfect. Well, I do want to thank everybody for attending today. I do look forward to speaking with you all again very soon. So thank you very much, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day.